GSL.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to GSL Code A. Bet you thought I was going to say Code S. No, it's Code A today.
Well, we already have one Code S player. Ragnarok ace in that group, man, taking that 4-0.
He crushed it. Looked really amazingly good.
He made it look easy. Like, he made it look like he's figured out the ZVZ matchup.
Huh. Now, we only have one of 3 amazing players left to go into Code S. And in this losers match, Curious against Stats. Probably a lot of people didn't think this would be the losers match specifically.
Yeah, it's tough to predict that. One of these 2 players is out and going to lose. I actually thought they both get out of the group, but it's not going to be that way. King Sejong Station, I feel, is a map that really caters towards Curious's EVP style.
Okay.
And I think that if he can win this first game and get that map advantage, I think he will win the series.
Fair enough. I think this is a really tight matchup between these 2, actually.
Absolutely,
it's going to be Stats going up against Curious. Loser to Code B.
Up in the top left, in the red, the Startail Zerg, the Gatekeeper, he's known as.
Curious.
There he is.
Stone Cold Killer Man up against this Protoss to the bottom right for KT Rolster.
Stats.
Funny ID. Must have really been all about statistics in high school.
Did you like Stats?
No.
No?
Not really.
I thought it was okay.
There's a math class I took called Discrete Math.
Okay.
Because I had like an extra class I could take.
Kind of snuck around and solved problems.
I just slid a division symbol into somebody's back pocket, and somebody woke up in the morning, on the pillow next to them there was a square root symbol.
Oh wow.
No, the funny thing about that math class was it was really quite practical. It was like learning how to solve really complicated math problems that don't follow set rules, a normal mathematical arithmetic rules, and it was a step-based process. I didn't like how annoyingly difficult it was to memorize all these rules that weren't really useful except for specific problems in serious cases, but learned a lot in that class.
Oh, that's good.
But I wouldn't call that class statistics, but I guess it's in some cases we did some statistics stuff.
Pretty much all I can remember from my stats class is how many times the answer to the problem is this is an insufficient sample size.
Yeah.
Remember my teacher harping on that quite a bit. Anyways, here we are with double hatchery before spawning pool. But it's not the most greedy version, because sometimes people even make drones after all that. But instead, we're going to see the pool from Curious. Still pretty darn greedy, but also he can already see that this is quite a greedy build from Stats, going into a Nexus first, into a gateway.
Yeah, and this is kind of this map is played a lot of the time. The third base is so far away that it's okay for the Zerg to just do that double hatch. Not going to get cannoned. Hardly anybody goes forward first on this map, expecting to do anything done. That might change as a meta shift, as basically everyone's double hatching before pool here, so maybe that makes a comeback, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. That's one of those things that just shifts ever so slightly. Do you feel like this is the matchup where the early game meta shifts the most? I would say it is right now.
Yeah.
It was everybody.
I would say, I would say it definitely is the one where the early game meta shifts the most. It's quite astounding watching it shift, especially when I have enough time to play the ladder a lot. You see the shift, and then the next day you see it.
Yeah.
On GSL or something, and it's wow, that happened overnight.
Yeah.
And
it's so true, man.
It's quite interesting to watch it happen.
It's everyone gateway expands and everybody Nexus first into gateway, then it's going back to Forge expands to Cannon, then
Do you remember the one gas Immortal push?
Yeah.
And how for one day, there was a bunch of StarCraft on that day in Korea. For one day, it won 4 or 5 PVZs, and it was never seen again.
Yeah.
Because, and the funny thing is, that day I was playing a bunch of ladder, used a bunch of the ladder, won a ton of games. Next day, I couldn't win one with it. Everyone figured it out.
Yeah, it's really quite incredible to see how quickly word gets around in the game that's played by so many people in a country that's so strategically driven a lot of the time. You know, Koreans love to talk stats, and they're really good at it. I mean, not stats, excuse me, strats. I saw that stats at the top of the screen got a bit switched around there, but yeah, I would say like it's quite amazing. As Hearthstone grows in Korea too, I expect that we're going to start seeing a lot of shifts from Hearthstone come out in Korea. You know what I mean? Because they're just like so on top of this.
Hearthstone games happen so quickly. The metagame actually shifts by hour on the North American server. It's crazy.
Yeah, it does, because the top people hitting each other. One deck is starting to win, and then everyone switches back to like an older, more control style, and then like the control style is like 2 control, but it's like weak to super rush, and then you just keep swapping like all over the place.
And similar things do happen in StarCraft as well. A little bit more complex the way it works, I would say.
Yeah, not as black and white as Hearthstone can be.
But, taking a look at what's going on here, that is a very quick third Nexus off of Phoenix's. But in this situation, absolutely going to be fine. Because this was a very greedy opener. There's no lings. Speed just started. And if you don't have Zergling speed, you're not stopping this third.
No, not on this map. This is not a way that I would say most bosses would play this map. It's a very stats-esque way.
Well, and the thing is, this opening is actually really, really good. Like, if you can get away with taking your third Nexus at this time when you're going for +1 attack and Phoenixes, and you're following up with the Robo and you have basically no ground units. This is, and the thing is, he opened Nexus into Gateway. This is like just the most pure, greedy, beautiful thing. He has to be very happy with where he's at this game.
Yeah. I'm happy for him. Looking solid. I'm happy for him. I'm like, yeah,
that's good.
Like, go on, you stats fan. You got away with that.
Not holding this against him.
No, I'm like, you know what? This is totally fine for him to do that. Like, what he's gonna do? He's trying to win, you know.
I think this could be a very long game. I don't know if either of these players is really gonna want to, go into just some sort of timing attack.
Well, the Bay says definitely not for stats. Like, he's not gonna do the build on this map, which was so funny when this map came out in Pro League. Like, every single PVZ we saw was like +2 blink stalkers, every time, and it's like, can you hold or not? And that was just like the early game was just like irrelevant. Nobody cared about that part. It was all about can you hold the blink push. But map has evolved, and Stats is the type of player who doesn't really do that type of play. He's more driven to the late game. He's more focused on that sort of play style.
Well, I like what I'm seeing out of Curious right now. He's going right into that infestation pit. He's realized that, with a start like this, no amount of Hydras and Roaches is going to break through and end up killing Stats. By the time he has them, the tech that Stats has, he'll block the attack and then roll you over. So he's going up into all of his tech right now. Getting the important upgrades, getting the melee attack and carapace, of course, getting that Roach speed just for safety's sake. Probably we'll see Roaches at some point this game. And then, of course, a Spire and an Infestation Pit.
He's fixing the drone saturation on that extractor.
I know, I was just thinking that. There's 4 drones there. If I saw 4 and I knew I only had 1 lift, I would not touch. Go to the other extractor. Get 1.
Yeah, well, he's floating around here. Like, he's forced a lot of spores, but this is how Curious will defend a play like this. He's just always going to sit back and play defensively, make a ton of static defense. Going to be useful later. We'll lose 2 drones here, but whatever. As long as he's not going to attack.
15 workers killed. This has been pretty worthwhile, I would say. Kill some other random things in there as well. Overlords, whatnot. And, this is... Like, I'm actually pretty impressed with what Stats has done with these Phoenixes so far and how greedy this build has been and how it's all working out perfectly. But at the same time, of course, Curious was able to get a 4th up against something like this. Will he be trying to take a 5th? No, he's just going to go into 17, 18 mutas right now. But that means for sure he's going to want to take a 5th pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's a huge flock of Mutalisks that are going to all pop at once, I have to say.
19.
That's the type of number that can catch you off guard and win the game.
He knows there's a Spire, but he's just like not...
Well, his Phoenixes might want to see when they pop out and maybe kite them all the way home. And he's going to have to be very careful about this because this amount of mutas, oh man, this can do a lot of damage. Did he actually see it?
I don't think so.
I think he might have missed it, even though they flew right by his Phoenixes.
Yeah, he's like just totally idle here. Now, of course, there's no avoiding it. Stalkers do have blink. He recalls, smartly so. Even the drones were like wanting a piece of that.
Well,
now they want to trap it.
The 22 Muta is going to fly across. Of course, a fleet beacon on the way. Going to have to get that range upgrade as well as some more Phoenixes to help out with his defense.
Well, I mean, he's going to hold this fine, right? But the problem is how stuck is he going to be here on these 3 bases while Curious does what he does best, you know, transitioning back at home into different late game switches. He's getting a few Corruptors out to help deal with the Phoenixes. He's going to have 2 hatcheries going up right now. One for macro, one is his 5th base that he's taken. His creep is kind of connected between his bases right now. And I think he might actually take not only that 5th base, but take the 9 o'clock expansion pretty soon too, because he knows that when you go for this type of big mutalist commitment, sometimes a Protoss might like feel the need he needs to go out and snipe a base, and you just fly over to your drones over to the next base when you lose that one. If you take 2 bases on the opposite side of the map.
Yes, that one of the oldest standard rules about going mutalisks, even from StarCraft 1, is to take 2 bases after you go mutas that are far apart from each other, because then you're going to keep at least one.
Yep.
And that's, you know, they can't kill 2 places at once, generally speaking, against the super mobile mutas. So, you know what? I would like to see him take that base as well. But if we look back at the game on Habitation Station where Savage went mutas against Stats already today, he's not in a bad situation like that. Remember, he had no Phoenixes. With these Phoenixes, as this number of Phoenixes goes up, he's going to be able to take a 4th base. And even in a base trade type of situation, oh, look at that, a very brave blink down. With these Corruptors coming in, that may not pay off for him, that blink.
No, he's going to lose a few Stalkers here for free. Going to lose that Stargate too, that's really important. You could actually like lose like 5 mutas for that. That's how worth it is to kill a Stargate.
Definitely slows him down tempo-wise on how many Phoenixes are actually going to be coming out. But going to go ahead, re-add one, get that Temple Archives as well, and that tells us that this game probably is going to go on quite a bit longer. He will want to secure a 4th base since he's going for that tech as well.
So this is a bit sloppy to actually have these Corruptors this far out. And Phoenixes will just annihilate anything they can get their hands on. If you can isolate anything with a group of Phoenixes, that fleet will just link its lasers on a target and run away or not, it's dead.
Yeah.
If a Phoenix ever links on you and you don't kill the Phoenix or force the Phoenix to run away, you're not getting away. That's just not how it works. Yeah. That was a lot of larva loss there, but of course he needs to rebuild other units, so I don't think he's too upset about it. More Corruptors on the way, 10 in fact.
And right now we even have Charge getting up for stats. He's going to take this 4th base, getting that +1 attack and some Archons to mix in as well.
Charge is really important. It makes your Zealot harass much more effective, and it also allows your Zealots to just move across the map faster.
Yeah, the upgrade movement speed almost as important, in fact. And mutas are going to come in and kind of force him to turn around with his Phoenixes, which will catch these Corruptors.
Yeah, again, Corruptors get caught here, but the Corruptors are buying enough time for the Mulas to do their damage, so they're doing their job well. He's going to kill this Nexus.
Yeah, looks like it.
Cannons need to be canceled too. He's like not doing that either. I think we may actually just have a race, an elimination race.
Well, we may, but if there's consistent micro out of stats, he can whittle this down over time. And that's really what we need to see here. Now, it looks like he is going to be able to catch these Phoenixes coming out. So we might just be on 11 or 12 total. Yeah, it looks like just those 11. Couldn't get any more out. And 11 can pick that off over time, but that is a huge group, 21 and 23. Oh no. That was really bad.
That's totally unwarranted. There's like no reason why you could say, well, the reason why he did that was like this Archon is the only standing defense here against these Mulas. Probes are now being pulled. Will actually looks like be sent to the 4th base, but he needs to actually think about pulling some probes to his army. I don't think he can kill these cannons straight up, but like he can stop the mining if he just flies behind the base.
That is true. Yeah, probably doesn't want to float over those cannons, but going to the back and maybe microing lightly there could be quite helpful, but killing off other buildings can be nice as well. In the meantime, Stats is eliminating quite a few bases, just 1 hatchery left over, whereas there are 3 Nexuses, just not a lot of mining going on.
Yeah, that's the problem. He has all of his probes in 1 base right now, and you know, he could produce a few more probes. He's slowly doing that. He's so terrified of the idea of sending his probes to the other base because, you know, they're vulnerable at that moment. Not enough Stalkers to actually fight these Mutas right now, but the Archons, though,
yeah,
will
those
help
Archons, they're a bit scary, I would say. Still trying to rally some units out of here and remaking his Spire elsewhere. Looks like Curious actually has changed his mind and is flying back for some more attacks. Maybe he thinks, oh, you're out of position enough. Maybe I can take out these cannons now with the help of some Lings.
Yeah, Lings coming in here to tank a bit of damage, and the cannons are starting to fall pretty rapidly here. And there's no, as far as I could tell, there's no Mothership Core. Yeah, there's
no,
none
the
until
Mothership
recall.
Core died. He never remade.
So this means that this base is going to die, and he needs to save some probes if he wants to win an elimination race if it comes down to that.
Yeah, 19 probes left. Most of them right here. There are a few in the main and a few at the third base that's still mining. But those are going to be hard to get out of there as well.
He targeted that Archon down with the Spines. That's really smart. You don't see that all too often. He actually didn't kill it. He'd attempted to.
We're actually down to just 8 Phoenixes, by the way, so that could be an issue. I feel like with the proper micro, we are going to see Curious come out with the advantage here, with the win here, in fact. Does fly in. Those Archons trying to target down. Those Phoenixes as well. They're going to be taken down very, very quickly, though.
Yeah, I think, you know, well, he's still got a lot of Stalkers here, and he's got a few more, like, he's got one more Archon coming in.
I think the Archon is actually going to be at home, to be honest. I think that's going to be something that he rallies his Phoenixes around to try to do something. Of course, there's that +2 attack, which really helps. And with Blink, is Curious in complete trouble now? I don't know that he actually has enough Mutas to finish this.
Yeah, the Corruptors are not too useful anymore. I guess Charge is unpowered. I don't know what's going on with that, but...
Yeah, that's what happens, so probably should cancel that. Gives him a lot of extra money. He probably just doesn't realize or know or remember. Now, there's not many Phoenixes here. Of course, the Corruptors still do a little bit. They will take a few hits that, you know, obviously a Stalker could have more quickly hit a Muta, and Corruption is very helpful as well.
With Corruption, 16 Mutas can easily beat 15 Stalkers, but it's about the Archon, even the extra Phoenix support cannons. It's hard for him to fight this directly. Like, he can win this fight, but the Stalker's going to kill the base and then leave before that happens.
That is true. There's still buildings left, though, and there's Spines, so...
He saves it with 15 hit points.
He does have enough money for another one.
He could actually just send, like, one Zealot over to kill it. I wouldn't be surprised. See how he can win this fight? But it's just like, he can't really, in good conscience, commit to it, knowing that his economy is non-existent now that the hatch is dead.
Yeah, well, that's just about that. 3 drones left. He does have some larvae, but 320 minerals. Do you even try to make another hatch? I guess so.
I don't know, because...
Oh, well, he got the message, so he knows exactly what's going on now.
Yeah, he also, like... I guess he's like, well, I'll move these Spines like slightly. You're not going to, when you look on the minimap to know where they were when I was revealed, they're not going to be in the same place as they were before. I don't know, man. I don't think he can break this. And his economy is GG. I mean, he had no mining a long time. Well, he's not going to mine, and even when the hatch was done, he would only have 4 drones, whereas the bases that are up for stats had 16 drones in total mining, or probes, that is to say.
Yeah, it was a tough situation for him there at the end. You know, I feel like there was a bit of indecision coming out of Curious. He flew back to defend at one point and then decided to turn back around. If he had kept his Mutas over on the Protoss side instead of flying them all the way home, he may have been able to eliminate all the probes. And if he really completely killed the economy, what about those reinforcements? For instance, those Archons were both made very recently at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And, you know, you take Archons out of the equation, Mutas are going to do a lot better against Stalkers.
Yeah, I think those Archons were the key units there. The Spine Cores made for Curious were, like, so spread out from each other. They weren't, like, in a core location.
Yeah.
So the Stalkers were able to actually fight against them pretty decently. I think that was a big problem for Curious, too. I think he wanted to have a big fan of Spine Cores to protect all angles, but I think a better core closer to that hatch would have made it a lot more difficult for stats to actually break through there.
Maybe.
It's a lot of maybes, a lot of ifs, really, about that game. Not your normal elimination race there. A lot more Corruptors, too, than I think Curious would have liked to have. He needed them at the time when he made them, but then they weren't too useful for him in the late-game composition there.
Well, next map, going to be Overgrowth. No big surprise there, Zerg choosing Overgrowth.
It's like the most picked map right now, I'd say, in Code A.
Yeah.
You see it all the time. By all races, sometimes like it, so it's
Indeed. I would say it is Zerg favored as far as picking goes so
Yeah.
far, which points towards it being Zerg favored balance-wise. We will see, though, as we gather more stats on that.
Well, speaking of stats, one more win will bring him into that consolation match. Curious is in trouble. One more loss drops him